Hello, hi everyone. We're just gonna give some attendees a couple more minutes to join the room. Thank you again for joining today. See a couple more folks trickle through. So, all right. I think we can kick off. Yeah, thanks everyone for attending our the Genius webinar with Microsoft Advertising on the Retail Ready session. Today, very nice to meet you. First of all, I'm Chester. I'm the program manager at the Genius, overseeing the channel partner program that we have with our agencies, as long as alongside with Microsoft Advertising. And today, we're very happy to have Lucas Gordon, the Senior Account Exec on Audience Ad Specialist from Microsoft, joining us today. We have prepared a lot of exciting contents. I know retail season is still seems quite far ahead, but the secret is to prepare early. So, we're here today to help you plan for starting from August to December retail season. So yeah, thank you, Lucas. I'll hand it over to you first to introduce yourself and follow with your content.
Well, hello everyone. Thanks for joining. Thanks, the Genius, for the invite. Along me, we also have Connor, which is surprisingly showing as Lucas as well, but we can be both. Lucas doesn't matter, or we can be both Connor. Our idea for today, let me share my screen real quick. Is to okay, I guess request consent. This is it. Our idea for today is not to discuss just Microsoft, but to discuss essentially a bunch of things we researched through last year and what we are expecting for this year as well. As I mentioned before, I work along Connor. I'm the account executive or audience ads specialist for the channel partner in the last 4 years. Connor works along with me as an account manager. And as I promised, today we'll be covering first key trends and insights for the holiday in 2026. What we wanted to do is bring you like useful data. It's not like, yeah, it's super important to be on Black Friday or Christmas. Everyone knows about it, but I think we have a lot of like potential verticals, how to start, what kind of formats. So we will be covering some of them. Then, of course, for these expectations, how Microsoft will answer in terms of the audiences we can provide, the products, the different formats that will answer to those trends, right? Those are trends based on general usage. We have over 1 billion users, so we do have a really deep understanding. And finally, and this is more the useful part, I don't want to make this a super boring presentation, so I'll prepare like a specific week by week, month by month, what kind of product, how to enable, how to improve them with AI, how to like, let's say, simplify your lives. So you will be able to, let's say, cover this. You will have this deck, of course, after the call. So let's say pretty much all your how-tos will be covered there, and even when to start each kind of thing. So without further ado, let's jump into the key trends for this holiday. First thing, and this is something I think is super important, is for us to understand that there are like different behaviors. It's not like all the users are the same, right? So what we have seen, and you will see in the next couple of slides, is that the consumers are kind of anticipating this, especially I would say in the European market, that the whole Black Friday wasn't as traditional. I would say something that really came in the last decade. What we are seeing is that people are already expecting some big offers, right? They are familiar with this. So In certain verticals, for example, electronics, home and garden, if we go for this kind of persona, what we call the early bird, those are like, let's say, higher ticket. So people are really digging for specific offers and they would be waiting for these offers to come up, right? What does it mean for you as an advertiser? Like if you're like in one of these verticals, electronic, home and garden, like furniture or even fridges, phones, smartwatches, all these kind of products, you better be advertising before, right? Like the, let's say the communication development has to become earlier than just like dropping something in the last 2 weeks in November. Okay. This is probably 40% of the audiences we have seen represent that kind of user, right? The early bird. They start way before what we call Cyber 5, which is, of course, Cyber Monday, Black Friday, Christmas, the whole package. Then around 8%, and people will think this is probably a lot of way more people than they thought. It's just that 80% of the audience is the sales seeker, right? This is people just looking for cheap products like the last minute, not the last minute, but looking for good offers, right? We even have another research that found like people are like, let's say, inclined for everything that goes from 25 to 35% offers. Something more than that sometimes gets a little rejection, right? Unless they know the brand really well. You can see that people here are slightly less aligned to brands, so they dig into different brands, and they are more looking into more personal or even gifts kind of products. So we will see a lot of apparel or even beauty and personal care, lower ticket, right? But you can see that the average order is quite similar, so people tend to buy more products in that same behavior, right? These kind of people, you will be activating them close to the, let's say, the famous dates like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and even close to Christmas. Okay. And finally, and this is a growing behavior, is the last minute buyer. You will see later we created a specific audience for you to get to these people. It's people looking for like the emergency, like gifts, something to just be part of the of this holiday. You can see that the average order is slightly less. This is really much because it's inclined to gifts. It's not something very for family or even for themselves. And of course, this is occasional and has like a lot of different brands. Okay. In general, what we wanted to bring to the table is understanding that the users, the consumers, they are seeking deals more than ever. Sometimes not in the form just of deals, but they are looking for good offers and good products with a deal attached to it. So you can see, probably thanks to AI kind of and the chat experience, the whole funnel is going way faster now. So they can get access to like very deep understanding on the product fairly quick, right? So that you can see that the trend until 2023, 2024 was kind of like steady but growing, but in the last year it spiked. You will see later, we will discuss specific data among countries, for example, in Europe, which countries are adopting it the faster. Okay. So essentially for you to understand, this is like a growing behavior and we will see this way stronger. This is data from this year and the beginning of the year. We will see this way stronger in the second half of the year, in which I would say in 2 months, people start like really digging offers. We'll start to see by the end of September, the first Santas popping up everywhere. So that's the kind of behavior we definitely will see. Okay. In terms of like what we understood of like the actual conversions, because we get the users and their behaviors, but we also get the consumer behavior in our massive scale of users all around, like over 1 billion users. What we realized is there is a massive influence, especially from October to everything that happens in November and December, right? So among 65% of all the November conversions come from October clicks. So people are waiting, let's say something will happen in November, right? They are expecting like a Cyber Week or a Black Friday month or a Black Month kind of thing. So 65% of all the conversions that you end up getting in those weeks or in the full November month come from October, right? So what does it mean for you as an advertiser, for you as a brand, for you as an agency? Essentially, it means that if you decide to fight this moment in November, your CPMs, right, or your CPCs will be more expensive because that particular user, it's already in the loop on someone else's decision journey, right? So for you to get that user back to visit your page, maybe it's already digging into two different brands, as we've seen in the personas. So your brand is forgotten, right? So it will be super expensive for you to show up your brand again. So this is kind of like, don't concentrate your efforts in a couple of weeks or in 3 weeks, but expand it. Have like, even if it's the same budget, but spread it from the beginning of October. Later on, we have a specific traffic volumes that represent how it works. Okay. Even in December, we still see a big influence on October clicks and even November. Okay. In terms of, as I promised before, here we have the specific peaks in which, let's say, the consumers tend to like do the research. For example, 41% they research days before, but the majority they do extensive research, even weeks before. So I think with AI, they get the proper information. The research is a lot about the deals, right? They will get all the details on the products they're looking for, or like all the different, okay, does it work for my family, for my company, or for whoever I'm doing this buying, or even if it's for themselves, it tends to work quite well. Okay. In terms of the different channels or the different formats and how the, let's say, the shift volume getting close to the Black Friday or the peak, as we say, we analyzed 4 different formats. I think those are like the most common in the open web, and the transition from the open web to offline, which is CTV, I would say, right? And then you can see that it's obviously like a peak in the beginning of November, which is kind of the behavior we are trying to prevent you from being there, like concentrating everything in November. It's fine, but the majority of the conversions here, we are seeing the volumes, the impressions, right? And the investment, it really spikes in November. But the conversions tend to be from the October communication, right? We can see that, let's say, most formats probably accept native, which is more active, starts early. But if you will planning like to have a strong Black Friday, for example, or even Christmas, you better make this kind of more a steady curve than a spike, right? Because in the end, the actual business happens because of audiences generated before. Okay. What we also have seen, it's a massive influence in AI. Of course, we analyzed our own AI, so we went for Copilot. And the main difference is not that we are getting more purchases, like 53% more. They tend to spend more, right? I would say the touch points are reduced by 40%. Also, the CTRs are way higher. Essentially, people are solving their questions in a chat experience way faster, right? You know, less time. They end up visiting, creating less traffic, kind of, because essentially they will maybe in a shopping carousel that as we had, we still have in search, of course, they will see maybe 4 or 5 products, but in a chat question that they do before, they will have all the information. Imagine like I'm buying running shoes, right? I'm a heavy runner. I like to run in the mornings and I do like marathons or like short. They will get like probably 2 potential brands, 2 potential models, and that's it, right? So you tend to buy more because they get all the information, but it also it's less of a burden in terms of researching. Okay, those are general things that we are seeing. And this is, well, the whole conversation on AI, on how ramped it is and how quickly it's being used by over 1 billion users, right? It is right there, like 3 or 4 users say AI assistance is very complementary to traditional search, right? It will land them on traditional search, but they will come with a lot of information in the baggage that they didn't have before. Previously, they will have to go, for example, on the steel, on the running shoes, they will look for different models. They will then ask for like a specific like blogs or even reviews in video channels or anything, or even on social, to see if those like are aligned or if they are like what they want. Essentially, AI will look for these reviews and bring the information on the spot in a single chat experience. So it's like a way faster. Okay. Still on the adoption, What we have seen in Europe, and this is of course very fresh data, this is from March, just a couple of months ago. In Europe, in particular, we are seeing a massive adoption in some countries more than in others. Like in Italy, it's slightly faster. It's hard to explain exactly why, but this is essentially how it goes, and this is the data. And you can see the differences are quite relevant, up to 20% in between, for example, the Netherlands and Italy, right? We do have a specific data for this in the US and pretty much the whole world that I'm attaching this to this deck. So you will have offline after this call. Okay. This is what we've seen in terms of AI. In terms of peak on click volume, for example, and this is kind of justifying what we said before, that people are starting to research, especially the early adopters or early birds, as we call it. They do have a certain volume still like per country here, for example, the UK, I just highlight it. It really starts compiling and adding up way more in October, right? Then obviously it will peak until Black Friday. And then in December, we still have like massive activity until, of course, close to Christmas. Then people tend to buy offline because of deliveries and the whole thing. And then depending on the country that you are, you will definitely have the specific sales in January, right? And we have seen like a steady, like not a, I won't say steady, but we never seen that massive drop that you will expect after Christmas. In some countries, it stays on the line because, for example, they have specific holidays. I'm based in Spain. Here we have like Reyes, so until January the 6th, people are still buying gifts, right? It's a massive thing. And then we have the official sales per country. Okay, so uh, the massive, let's say, indexed volume, it's by Black Friday, but we do see a steady growth since October. Okay. Main takeaways. I think I kind of mentioned this a bunch of times. Is like the October clicks tend to land more conversions, right? It's not just about like the impression volumes and the CPCs. Do like a proper, let's say, tagging work, create some audiences on your visitors, on people who visit certain categories in October already. Okay. That will really bring you the majority of the conversions to November and even December. Okay. The decision journeys were complex, but now I would say are way more simplified, and adding different engagement types will help AI find your brand and find your brand with the proper exposure, right? Which that is communicate your brand value very clearly. I think AI, what it's doing is as we advertised it in the past, just trying like very basic showing the values of our products and the advantages and how we are better than certain competitors because of this and that. Essentially, AI is doing that kind of service for you, right? And removing all the beautiful colors and shines and going for like, okay, this is the value that my product brings in. Okay. I wanted to bring some forecasts. I won't be going specific on this, but it's more on you how to prepare. I do have this data for the whole Europe and of course for the US, but it's just for you to see how we are expecting for PMAX, audience, and even shopping ads through the full season. Okay, what we are expecting in terms of traffic growth. So you can prepare like, okay, maybe now in, for example, the week of November 22 is too crowded. So the CPCs will be too expensive. I don't have so much of a deep pocket. So I can like spread, do something before, and then change, let's say, my strategy and go back in December, last minute. So that will allow you to be competitive, disregarding of your like how deep are your pockets. Okay. Pretty much the same how what we expect year over year. The influence, let's say, we had in the beginning of the year for like the Middle East, we are expecting us here 11, let's say, percent growth year over year. This is it. Maybe it doesn't sound that much, but this is for the UK market. But last year we expected like a 7%. So this is, let's say, the economy is slightly more steady. So we are expecting like a certain growth. Okay. What categories are we expecting the most, right? I would say searches are growing for computers and consumer electronics. This is the early ones we discussed that are super important in October. So this is aligned to that. And some categories are dropping considerably. For example, beauty and personal care. In the last couple of years, those were massive because let's say they audit all the male audience on skiing care and rituals, all that kind of products. But now it became like a regular thing, so it's not that novelty. So that's how we envision this particular year-over-year growth. Okay. Here as well, categories that we see growing and the ones that we see declining, I would say probably, as I said before, hair care, computers, footwear, home and garden, and then some others like slightly below, home appliances, perfumes, jewelry, and others. Okay. I even had a specific insight and action, but I will share this with you later. Finally, this is more on our ecosystem, how we prepare, let's say, or how we can answer to those all these trends in terms of what Microsoft brings to the table, because we collect the user behavior and we what we expect, let's say, from them to be on this holiday season, how you can get to these users and this user behavior that we projected. Okay. So here I just aligned some of the reach, let's say, and the audience sizes that we have, for example, in the UK among some of our owned and operated properties. Why I brought this? Essentially because those are like very exclusive to us. So if you're working with different search engines, social advertising, or even offline, those will be users that will be, let's say, way easier or way cheaper for you to get your brand in front of them because those are part of our stack. So for example, just in the UK, we have 50 million users because they come from Microsoft, then 34 using Microsoft Bing, right? And then MSN, it's like a massive web page that every time you use the Edge browser that comes in Windows, we get in front of these users, and of course, Outlook and Microsoft Casual Games. That's specific for the UK. But how do we get to these users in terms of like Microsoft advertising, right? I really like this particular flywheel because it shows a lot of different properties that we understand that in search, for example, we might be the underdog. We do have like big search competitors. But the reality is that in some aspects, we are very unique and massive, right? For example, we do have competitors, but none of them have like a massive operational system that goes in all the desktops and all the notebooks, right? So with that, we understand the user behavior, and when they use our owned and operated properties like Outlook, the Edge browser, Copilot, that is really shaping, let's say, our audiences, we understand these users in a very unique way, and we can advertise for these users in a very unique way. Then, for example, search competitors, they don't have a very strong social aspect that we do get with LinkedIn, right? We get this 1 billion users coming from LinkedIn. So we understand the user signals, and you can advertise and find these users when they are elsewhere, when they are like in the open web browsing, or when they are like, I don't know, like gaming. There are many aspects in which you can use the LinkedIn audiences to find your users, right? Then another very unique aspect to us is the gaming community. We are famous for, well, solitaire, of course, but also the Xbox. And recently we acquired King, the company that makes Candy Crush, right? So you can advertise and show your brands, your products in mobile, right? So people that when they are gaming in these apps like Candy Crush, you can simply put your brands there. Okay. So essentially what we do is all this is as I mentioned before, we have an identity graph or an intelligence in which we understand the user behavior. And in many of these placements, we can also advertise, right? We even have like upper funnel initiatives, what we call premium streaming. So you can go to people's houses and show your connected TV and OTT ads. Okay. Yeah, Lucas, this is super nice, but why would I do it? Essentially, what we have seen is that it really works, right? When we use audiences, combine it with your search or your shopping campaigns, what we have seen is massive increase, especially like if you're already doing Bing, we see like 80% more brand searches, right? So people get familiar to your brand by seeing it in TVs, by seeing it when they're gaming or elsewhere, and they end up doing search for your brand way more than before, right? 8 times more. Then of course, probably the brand searches are like the final, like the lowest final, but in the end, they also do visits, right? They tend to be like almost 3 times more visits than the regular user. And they do a lot of conversion as well, like 170 more conversion rates, right? And in particular, in the holiday, what we have seen is that 75% of all the holiday conversion journeys have seen an audience ad, right? So essentially, out of this flywheel here of user behavior and platforms and gaming and social and on, we built over 1.2 thousand different in-market audiences. So it's people in market for certain things, for a trip to New York, for buying a new car, for buying sneakers, for consumer electronics, all these different products. So essentially, 75% of all the holiday conversions have seen one of these audience ads, right? So this is how relevant they are for the decision journey in the end, right? And I would say with the whole growth of AI, sometimes your brand, maybe you are still preparing, maybe you are still adapting your feed to be compliant, not compliant, but to be fully informative. And so maybe your brand won't be showing as much. And then a lot of the things will be solved directly in the chat experience. So this time it's super important for you to expose your brand, right, in a more proactive way, like with native ads, CTV, display. So you will be showing, let's say, more for users that are not aware of your brand. The main difference in holiday versus the rest of the year is people are, let's say, more receptive to offers, but they are also looking for certain things versus the rest of the year. That when you have a need, you look for a product and that's it. Now, let's say people are more open to this particular offer. So this is the time for you to be more prospective than reactive with your brand. Okay. What we also have seen in terms of our users coming from this identity graph is that especially, let's say, the recent online buyers versus different engines, our users, I would say, because we have this strong work kind of profile, a lot of people using Windows, for example, uh, are part of the Microsoft audiences, right? So that means this is people that they have jobs, they are employed, obviously. They tend to buy online because they are familiar with browsing. It's less common to have this, let's say, more like outside and doer kind of work. They are working in a desktop, in a notebook, right? So our shoppers, they tend to be slightly, let's say, higher in mid-career, or let's say higher earners, I will say. Our shoppers tend to be, let's say, 20% above the average in terms of household income, right? So perhaps you are already working with us, you're strong with like different search engines, you are getting like good results, right? Our ticket tends to be higher, but you want to get more volume out of these users. So you need to like find our users in a more prospective way. And not just that, in the end, our users tend to be from working from larger, like bigger companies, right? Corporate, a lot of them, which tends to use Windows devices and the whole stack that comes with it. And our users, they use a lot of devices, which tends to mean that you need to be in different formats, right? Devices means like maybe they are watching TV, that's a connected TV device. Then they may have a phone and a desktop and a tablet. So they are connecting to your brand in very different forms. That's complexity for us. We need to be advertising more. But in the end, you can have like a deeper message. Okay. I mentioned before that 75% of all the conversions in the holiday tend to come or they have seen an artist ad. What we also have realized is that they tend to spend more when they are exposed to artist ads. And it's a 35% more, right? There's many reasons we believe on that. Essentially, I think they trust your brand a little more because they have seen it, or maybe they will see more. For example, this is audience ad, so it can be a product ad from your catalog. So they will see different ads. Maybe they're looking for the running shoes for me, but I see a nice offer on like any other running shoe or any shoes or sneakers or whatever. So I will give it as a gift to Connor or to a friend of mine, right? Or to my family. So that's probably what explains how much this massive difference of 35% we have seen in the last retail and even in 24 as well. Okay. What we prepare for you, because maybe this is the first time that you will be working with Microsoft in audiences or even PMX campaigns, what we prepare is a specific seasonal campaigns, in-market audiences, sorry, so you can attach them to your campaigns. Okay, so here you will see, well, The majority of them are related to this holiday, but some of them are like Mother's Day or Valentine's. But you can see that Black Friday, back to school is something that is happening pretty much in a month. So this is something that if you're already thinking of, you can link to your campaigns. Remember, even if you have search campaigns, adding this in market audiences is completely for free and it will improve the performance, right? Because it will allow, okay, I want to get more of that particular spectrum of audiences, right? And we even included here like last minute buyers, seasonal, and on and on. Okay. Another thing that we bring to the table is maybe, yeah, I like the idea, but I'm getting to a lot of your users. They are like, let's say, uh, it's the same users I'm getting with search providers or social. How can I get just the Microsoft exclusive kind of audiences? So for that, we created what we call Microsoft properties, let's say placement targeting, right? So in when you're creating a campaign, you can simply go to Microsoft Sites and select like, okay, I'm in B2B, so I will go for the productivity. I want people using Outlook, right? It's an email provider. I want to target these people, or maybe no, I want to just my thing is health and wellness, so I will go for MSN Health, right? Or just the Edge browser users and even gaming as well. So you will get all native display and even video gaming for casual games and King, right? It's not there, but you will see Candy Crush. It's already there as well. Okay. You will be surprised that people, I don't think we as a company, we advertise enough, but MSN is probably the biggest news domain in the world with 500 million users. Actually, more is 550,000 million users every month. That's essentially because it comes as a first page on the Edge browser, right? And all the content it's tailored towards what you've been browsing. So, for example, I'm based in Barcelona in Spain, and all is all football because it's the World Cup and the country is getting to the finals. So it will be all around that and tickets and flights and everything sports related. Okay. What we also did is if you want to, let's say, benefit, because we are not exclusive to our properties, but we also go to the open web, right? Even though a lot of the volume will come from our properties, you can add certain context. So this is, let's say, what we call contextual kind of targeting. So for example, yeah, I'm interested in sporting because it's the running shoes is an example. So you can simply go there and select sports or even beauty and fitness, which is kind of related now. And we will find web pages on the open web that are on linked to this particular, let's say, topic or contextual topic. Okay. So we always suggest you to add this because in the end, our businesses, unless you are like a massive kind of retailer, you always tend to be more related to one topic than the other. So this will kind of like nail a little more into your targeting. And again, this has no cost for you to add all of these or the market audiences to your campaigns. Okay, it's just more performance. And finally, and this is something that before I discuss it, like this is the open web, so it's not exclusive to us. The properties, MSN, and many others are quite, I won't say exclusive, but we do have like a prime access to them. And one product in particular is what we call the impression-based remarketing. This is a product that in the way we offer, no one else is doing it. You can do like in some video providers, create an audience of people who have seen the video and that's it. In our case, you can do any kind of campaign. So for example, you have a connected TV campaign, right? Which is expensive, tend to be more expensive, the CPMs and everything. And it's not as actionable because people don't click on their TVs or they don't land on any pages from their TVs. So you would like to measure impact on those. So you can simply create an impression-based remarketing audience, right? So just by seeing the ads, they will be populating this audience for up to 30 days, right? So you can retarget them. The same applies for shopping. For example, the shopping campaign, the traditional carousel on the running shoes, you will click on maybe one or two brands or two models because you like the price point or you like the colors or whatever. All the other ones will be off that decision journey. So with this, you can simply go back to that particular decision journey just because they have seen your offer, your sneaker or any running shoe and promote it again, right? This opens to a bunch of possibilities. So you can really get wild on this. Okay. As I said, I added here some examples, right, on how you can do it. The most basic one, I would say a video ad, and then you show a native and display ad, but you can go super crazy. We've seen people doing PMAX and then retarget them with like a remarketing of a coupon or anything. Okay, even without a click, without landing in your page, right? So that's why I think this is a product that is for us. We are building a bunch. Well, we already built a couple of success stories because it's working surprisingly well. Okay. Finally, our third topic. This is more down to earth, right? So I think we discussed it. Key trends and insights, what we are expecting, how important it is to be getting all the clicks and the, let's say, the research people from October on, early October. Then we discussed how we as a company and our audiences and the placements we provide can answer to those with audience ads, with building these audiences, with remarketing, with impression-based remarketing, right? Finally, what we want to bring to the table is the how to, right? How we suggest you the best possible scenario, combining audience ads and performance max. Okay. So if you're starting in August to September, which is where we are now, I mean, obviously we are still in July, but the idea is that you can really, and this is where I really push it through the call, is prepare your audiences, right? You can start populating them if they are impression-based offers, audiences, sorry, or they will be like, okay, people who visited certain categories, people who visited certain products. You have the time to set tags and do, for example, dynamic remarketing, right? Or even regular remarketing. So you will retarget people with a coupon, with a free shipping, with any kind of offer, right? Or you will simply, as I said before, you can do dynamic remarketing, retarget these users based it exactly on what they clicked, what they have on the abandoned cart, right? On the shopping cart. All this kind of campaign come from these setups. So this is definitely the moment for you to start setting this up. And for as lucky as you are, Chester and Easy are very much specialized on this. They have done this kind of campaign with us thousands of times. Okay. Maybe tagging is kind of complex for you. You're not fully in the game. You have like you don't want to pay a team to do the specific tag setup for you. What we offer is if you already have the Bing tags, so you're registering conversions, for example, you don't need to go for like super advanced tags. You can simply create audiences based on pages people visited in your domain. So here is, for example, you can create like a quick, like a hot page, as we call it in the past, so everyone that visited the Black Friday page will be part of an audience, so you can retarget them later. Okay, that's a very easy setup for you to do. For example, for the October clicks, and then activate a campaign targeting these users in November. Okay. Then in October, I would say this is where the seasonal messaging really starts, right? In search, I would say we start collecting what are the search terms. This in particular has really changed it. We do have clarity. It's kind of like, I would say, like a Google Analytics, but nowadays is, I would say, way stronger than Google Analytics in the AI side of it, because we can show you the exact search, not themes, but even the terms are like way broader, like how the chat it's analyzing the searches that are happening, let's say tangential or close to your brand, right? So it's a deeper analysis in that way. Then this is definitely the month for you to have all the communication on the spot, like no more like A/B testing. You can do it in the first maybe week or by the end of September, and then be fully like this is what works. And mid-October it has to be properly launched, because you remember we have seen how much of the traffic, clicks, and search increases in the middle of October. So by then it has to be ready. And then of course budgets and targets. I would say if you are like strong in retail, having the conversions ready and having that volume will really help you on the automated bidding. So you won't be having to like increase CPC. You will rely on our algorithm and will simplify your lives. For your convenience, we prepared this particular calendar so you can go fully in, right? In October, I think it's the time that we start shaping the message towards Christmas so you can use AI. Now it's so easy. In the past, we had to like hire a designer or an agency and then ask for like, yeah, make it more Christmas, more crispy, green and red. as we used to. Now you can simply ask for it and you will get any kind of adaptation or like even new ads completely, right? By the way, this is already in our platform, so you can use it for free, our AI studio. Then in November to December, I think this is where the business happens, right? This is where you start really targeting the October audiences you created, the assets and everything. If you are going to have a specific coupon or banners like with a sale or even like a countdown, or like you want people to visit your stores, like offline stores, like this is the moment for you to like really push. Uh, that way, if you're planning a specific offers, like by the end of the month, really rely on countdowns, on coupons. They really tend to work, and even on shipping kind of offers as well. Okay. Then, as again, we promised you like a specific calendar for you to work with. When it's very important for you to have the promos, I would say close to the end of November. And then, of course, the bids, adjust the bids, maybe decreasing after Black Friday or increasing if you are going to have a strong Christmas. Then in December as well, we have seen a very much of a spike, especially in the Christmas week. People they don't rely on delivery anymore, so they by that day, so the pickup in store kind of business really spikes. Of course, even before the Christmas week, right? And so far, if you like it, everything we presented, and you're considering doing audience campaigns, PMAX, we prepare specific checklists on essentially how me and Connor, we set campaigns. We go through all of this. This will be sent to you in a PDF. So every single link that you see there is actually linked to our blog, right? So you will have specific how to set it up. Pretty much the same for PMAX and a checklist as well. And finally, before giving it back to Chester, so he can round this deck up, just a couple of key takeaways, I would say. The holiday season is not just the Cyber 5, as we call it. It starts way earlier, right? Some verticals even more than others, right? I would say AI is really helping the consumers, but for us, it means that we need to have like better exposure of our brands, sometimes more prospective, rely on reviews and everything because they will be, let's say, compiled, understood, and digested for the users, right? As I mentioned before, January, depending on the country, especially, tends to be a high intent and low competition opportunity. People are still like on the hangover offers. So, yeah, it really makes a big difference. And kind of answering to what I mentioned before about AI, the omni-channel campaign tends to outperform um, single channel. Like, I'm going to all in on email or any kind of format. It tends to work more because essentially AI and the user will see your brand in more spots and tend to buy more from you. Finally, I added this couple of QR codes, so you will have a specific decks, recordings, how to set them up, like with live demos. Well, not live, but recorded demos for remarketing, PMX, and even audience ads. And with this, I will, sorry for speaking all this all the time and slightly over time. I will give it back to Chester.
Yeah, thank you, Lucas. That was super insightful. Yeah, for the audience on the webinar, I think Microsoft advertising is really a valuable channel to add to your seasonal retail strategy. As you may know or seen some of the stats on the Copilot, which is the Microsoft AI, the monthly active users has now grown to over 150 million. And there's been stats that also, sorry, forgot to mention Copilot Checkout. It's a new feature that was launched in January 2026. So now while you interact with Copilot AI, it will help you recommend and help you find deals and shortlist products to shop for. And there's been stats on shopping through Copilot led to a 53% more purchase. So it's a really underutilized or channels that if you haven't considered to really add into part of your strategies. And as we've seen from the stats through Lucas, I think some of those CPC trends and benchmark is much lower than some of the competitors such as Google Ads and so on. Right. to round it up, I want to quickly take over the screen just to give a little bit more background for customers on the call, or people that's on the call that hasn't met the Genius, or already work with the Genius, to consolidate all the content that you've kind of heard today from Lucas. The first action, we can introduce you to our account manager if you're already a client, to start working on rollout plans and growth plans across your specific accounts on Microsoft Advertising. Or if you have any clients that are not on Microsoft Advertising yet, we can provide you um, activation coupons, which is ad credits up to spend 1,000, get 1,000. So a little bit coming back to a little bit on the Genius. So the Genius, we are a London-based SaaS platform for the customers on the call who doesn't know who we are yet. We are the official global channel partner of the year with Microsoft Advertising in 2025. And we work with agencies and advertisers across the world, to help them get better performance on Microsoft Advertising through technologies and support. So, and our platform not only integrates into Microsoft Advertising, of course, it also integrates into a lot of different app platform as well as CRM integrations. So, for precise targetings and so on, you will be able to leverage our technologies. And if you're an agency, we're currently running this partner program, which is free for you to join, that provides you financial incentives. Of course, on the ad credit side, we provide you premium support and the Genius Insight software that integrates with different channels, free with two user seats, as well as unlimited accounts that you can integrate clients to. And we also have a Bombora intent data integration, which for B2B customers, this will be something that you can leverage enterprise level data insights into lead scoring, churn monitoring, as well as prioritization of, different buckets of targeting. Right. So if you are not a customers working with the Genius already, please feel free to scan the QR code on the screen, which will take you to our partner program page, where you can sign up for free, and our team will reach out to you. So the last section here, just to round it up, I think there was some Q&As in the chat, so we can take some. And if there are any questions regarding Luca's presentation, we're happy to take on the question as well. So just to go through one of the question, Lucas and Connor. So I see there's a question for pre-peak season, which campaign type is recommended to warm up audience and recommended, and what are the recommended budgets?
I would say definitely go for it depends on the formats that you may have and how much of a pre is, but I would say the best format is definitely video. We as young consumers, well, maybe I'm not that young, Chester is still super young. We are like nowadays all less images and all video, right? So and I would say depending on how much of an audience you will get, this is a slightly more expensive format than going for display or native, right? But I would say around 3 to 5K a month. It's a very dollars to go for any currency. Will get you like a decent volume, right? And if you want to get it more niche, I would say you can keep that budget, but maybe more expensive, but get like higher CPMs, but gets very good audiences. Or if you want to get like more massive and get like thousands of users, then among 5 to 10K will really do like a massive increase in your user base.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And what would you recommend in terms of strategies on, because we spoke about the seasonal audiences that will be coming out and that you can utilize, but there are also in-market audience and your first-party data. How would you typically structure that in a campaign? Would it be one ad group per audience, or how would you typically structure that as a best practice?
Yeah. Well, essentially what I will do is we now can work with multiple formats in the same campaign, but this is kind of like what we suggest is first create one ad group that will be your prospect kind of approach. We suggest going for like 20 to 25 in market audiences, right? Those are like the different segments. Go for like super niche. We can have up to four different sub verticals, right? So maybe you are into cars, for example, or even the running shoe example I gave. You can go for like fashion or apparel and then shoes and then sports and then even running shoes, kind of. So start with like very general. This is a season in which people are like looking for offers, getting like, "Ah, I like that one." Like a lot of companies are releasing new products, especially through September, October, because they know that this is where it peaks, right? So that will be your prospecting kind of approach with target and bid. Then I will create a new ad group or a separate one with like way higher CPCs, right? Just targeting visitors, the remarketing kind of approach, and excluding all the converters, right? You can even exclude those in market audience. So it will be like just focusing in like how people who visited me, and then that's I would say what I would definitely start with any kind of setup, right? What I will say is analyze the situation that you have now. If you have less than 30,000 monthly or 25 to 30,000 monthly unique visitors in your tags, you will need more visitors. You need like a broader base, right? So your campaigns can wrap and you will have like more conversion volume. So benefit from our first party data. So you will find more users if it's in gaming, in shopping. You see, we have over 1.4 billion active users. So you will definitely find people related to your business. And then you get them in the loop in your e-commerce.
Makes sense. Thank you, Lucas. And I think there was also an update on Microsoft advertising recently on the data-driven attribution. So this is also a long requested kind of feature update from customers. I think, yeah, everyone's really happy to see. And I just want to make a call out on this particular feature as well. If you currently don't have this turn on, so this data-driven attribution currently sits on the conversion goal level. And there is no risk in including or turning this option on. If you have campaigns that uses different attributions or campaign type, it will just default back to the last click. And some of the results that we've seen from customers switching to data-driven attribution on the conversion goals are pretty impressive. Increasing at least 200 conversion in 30 days that they weren't attributing previously, and so on. So this ahead of your kind of retail season, this would be also quite an important piece to kind of check if you have the data-driven attribution turn on. It will also help you with your PMAX campaign performance and so on, or any conversion value-based bidding.
Yeah. Yeah. The moment you start like not just on PMAX as well, you start like advertising in more like kind of prospecting kind of ways, like pushing not just the lower funnel. Go for data driven. Go for at least increasing the decision frame, like the conversion window, which is by default less click, but go for at least 7 days. This of course varies a lot in the business. If you're selling, for example, cars, this is like a quarter kind of time frame for a decision, or travel is around 60 days. In the holiday, the conversion journey tends to be around 54 days. Of course, this goes from like the last minute to the electronic kind of buyer. People who are buying like a phone, which is like a big decision, versus people buying like gifts, right? So in a sense, that's super important because you will see how it really influences it's like adding essentially what data driven is like more value to micro conversions that you have through your decision journey. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Lucas. I think on that note, we will wrap up the webinar today, and thank you so much for everyone attending. And if you have any questions regarding the webinars, or if you would like to work with the Genius on Microsoft advertising activations, please feel free to reach out. And we'll also be following up with the deck that Lucas presented today with details, guides on the playbook to help you with the retail season preparation. Thank you everyone for joining, and thank you, Lucas, again. Have a good rest of your day, everyone. Cheers.
Bye bye.
Bye.